You do not yet realize your importance. You have only begun to discover your power. Join me, and I will complete your training. With our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy.
What if Luke never said this?
I'll never join you!
This galaxy-changing decision made by Luke Skywalker eventually led to the death of Emperor Palpatine and his father, Darth Vader. He ends up saving the entire galaxy from the tyranny of the evil Empire, all because he refused his father's offer. But what if he didn't? What if Luke made the wrong decision? Would Luke and Vader be able to take down the Emperor and take control of the entire galaxy? Would the dark side fully consume young Luke to the point of no return? Or would his sister, that he doesn't know he has, and his friends be able to bring him back to the light? What if Luke Skywalker joined Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back? Our story starts at the end of this famous duel on Cloud City, shortly after Han was just put into carbonite and taken away by the legendary bounty hunter Boba Fett, and after Luke decided to leave Dagobah and his training with Yoda and Obi-Wan to go save his friends. Our story starts here, Luke having just lost his arm, holding on to the railing for dear life, as this masked man in front of Luke is about to change everything he thought he knew.
No, I am your father.
Luke's life in an instant was just turned upside down. Had Obi-Wan been lying to him this entire time? Is this why Uncle Owen wouldn't tell him anything about his father? Luke's mind runs wild, but he knows one thing for sure. The man that stands in front of him is his father. He can sense it in the Force.
Luke, you can destroy the Emperor. He has foreseen this. It is your destiny.
Luke hesitates. With the wind howling around him, he looks down, but instead of letting go and falling as he does in the original timeline, he closes his eyes, seemingly defeated. He reaches out his trembling hand and takes Vader's.
I will join you.
A wise choice, my son.
In this alternate reality, Luke chooses to join his father. It is a choice that will plunge him into the dark side, forever reshaping the fate of the galaxy. As Leia, Lando, Chewbacca, and the droids flee Cloud City, their hope lies in the belief that Luke is still the hero they knew. But little do they know, their friend is about to embark on a twisted path, one of hatred, darkness, and the thirst for power. As they fly away in the Millennium Falcon, we see Leia staring off into the distance as she senses a disturbance in the Force. It's as if her connection to Luke has been severed. Sadness overcomes her body as she tells the others that Luke is gone, believing that he has died to Lord Vader. The crew will mourn his loss, but they have a chance to go save their friend Han, and they will not miss it. We cut to a few days later, as Luke has begun his training in the dark side of the Force. On board Vader's Star Destroyer, we see Luke kneeling before his father. He is drenched in sweat, as if his training hasn't stopped since it began. His eyes flicker, still unsure of the path that he has chosen, but the shadow of his father's presence looms large over him. Darth Vader stands before him, towering, a menacing figure in black armor. In front of Luke lies a small pile of metal objects, the pieces of a new lightsaber. Beside them rests a small, pristine crystal, blue just as Obi-Wan's was before he died.
You are weak, Skywalker. I will make you strong. The Jedi lied to you. They told you the Force was light and peace, but that is not its true nature. Your master's Kyber crystal.
Luke feels the anger growing inside of him as he flashes back in his mind to seeing Obi-Wan get struck down by his father. Vader can sense the defiance in Luke, just below the surface, as he remembers back to when he was Anakin Skywalker, and he felt a very similar way.
The dark side, it feels wrong.
Luke says.
Wrong? No. The dark side is power. The Force is meant to be bent to your will. You are afraid because you have yet to understand the true nature of the dark side.
Vader gestures to the floor at the Kyber crystal, and as he raises his hand, so does the Kyber, hovering in the air between the two of them.
Take it. The crystal will be yours, but after you break it, only after you make it bleed.
Luke hesitates for a moment, sensing that this is a big decision. His hand trembles as he reaches out to grab the crystal out of the air. Immediately, he feels a faint pulse, as if the crystal has a heartbeat, as if this crystal is actually alive in his hand.
It must be corrupted, bled of its light. This will be your first step to the dark side. Let your hatred consume you.
Luke closes his eyes, and his mind is assaulted by memories. The loss of old Ben Kenobi, the destruction of his home on Tatooine, the death of Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, his failure at Cloud City, his friends now in danger somewhere across the galaxy. His heart pounds in his chest. The anger begins to build. He grips the crystal tighter and tighter, trying to focus, but something inside of him fights against it.
You are a Jedi no longer. Embrace your hatred, or it will destroy you.
Suddenly, Vader extends his hand, and an invisible force clamps down on Luke's body, sending searing pain throughout him. Luke gasps as his eyes shoot open, but Vader does not release the hold.
Pain is your ally. Through it, you will understand control.
The pressure intensifies. It's as if Luke's whole body is being squished. He can barely breathe. His fingers tighten up around the Kyber crystal, and now the crystal's heartbeat pulses harder and harder, in sync with the pain that Luke feels. But the crystal itself can still resist.
I can't do it.
Luke says.
Then you will die weak. You must let go of your compassion, your attachments. They make you vulnerable. Only hatred will give you the strength to break the crystal's will.
And with a sudden surge of power, Vader increases the pressure across Luke's body. Luke screams out in pain. And in this moment of pure instinct, his mind latches onto the one thing that burns brightest in him, his rage. Luke's anger floods his senses. At Vader, at the Empire, at the galaxy that has taken so much from him, it grows and grows inside of him. He screams again, and his eyes flash yellow for a brief second. And with all that rage, he focuses on the crystal, sending a violent surge of dark side energy into the crystal. The Kyber screams a high-pitched noise as if it's dying. And as the piercing scream fades out, Luke looks around as he's alone. Vader is gone. The dark room he was in is also gone.
Luke, you're here.
What's going on, kid?
And as he hears the ignition of a lightsaber, he gets brought back into the room. He can feel the crystal's pain in his hand. Its purity is being shattered, and the light within being extinguished. His hand now begins to burn as the crystal heats up, but he does not let go. He can't. The pain no longer matters. The only thing that drives him now is power, the desire to break the crystal and bend it to his will. And after what feels like an eternity, the process is now complete. The Kyber crystal that lies in his hand is now blood red. Luke breathes heavily, his body trembling from this whole ordeal, his mind reeling from what he just saw and has just done. At some point in that entire process, Vader let go, and Luke took over.
You have taken your first steps.
Luke looks down at the crystal in his hand. The weight of what he has just done is now heavy upon him. The light is gone, replaced with something darker, something that feels both empowering and horrifying.
What have I done?
You have taken your first steps. You have begun your true training. Now you shall craft your lightsaber, one worthy of the dark side.
Luke nods his head, his eyes still locked on the blood-red crystal, its glow reflecting in his eyes. The path before him is a dark one, but there's no longer any fear, only the cold certainty that he must see it through. And so, with the help of his father, Luke Skywalker begins his descent into the dark side. While Luke is training with Vader and creating his lightsaber, Leia, Lando, Chewbacca, and the droids remain unaware of his turn to the dark side, believing that he has died. They continue their mission to rescue Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt, hoping that once they are reunited, they can strengthen the rebellion and have some sort of chance, even without Luke, to take down the Empire. But things are not going to go as planned.
I got a bad feeling about this.
This rescue mission to save Han without Luke goes pretty differently. Without Luke's ability to use the Force, our heroes are not as bold in their attempt to save Han Solo. They use the backup that they have with the rebellion to help save Han. Their plan is pretty similar. They have Lando disguised as a guard inside, and Leia coming in as a bounty hunter with Chewie as her prisoner, sneaking in unnoticed so that they can save Han. In the middle of the night, just like before, Leia goes and frees Han from the carbonite. But this time, they have backup, the rebellion, as Lando is not the only guard undercover. There are 4 other rebels in Jabba's palace, and a lot more waiting outside. So Han, Leia, Lando, and Chewie blast their way out of Jabba's palace. And while this firefight is going on, Luke is still training with Vader. This training is brutal. The lessons of the Sith are not those of compassion and understanding. They are of dominance, rage, and control. Unlike the peaceful guidance of Obi-Wan and Yoda, Vader's teachings embrace the dark side in its rawest form. And now, Vader's mission has been made clear to Luke. He wants to overthrow his master, Emperor Palpatine.
Your weakness lies in your compassion. The Jedi's ideals of selflessness hold you back. You must sever all ties to your past. Only through hatred will you overthrow my master.
Vader unleashes a powerful strike towards Luke, who blocks it with his newly acquired red lightsaber. Their duel is intense, but Vader, as always, is winning.
Your hesitation is your downfall. You must want power. Feel the hatred. Use it.
Luke's frustration grows stronger. He swings at his father in rage, but Vader dodges it easily, using the Force to shove Luke up against the wall.
You cannot hesitate when the time comes, my son. Your enemy will exploit your compassion. And when that moment comes, you will fail.
Vader lets go as Luke hits the floor. As he stands back up, he lunges towards Vader, more tactical and precise in his attack. Vader blocks it, but just barely.
Good.
This training has been going on for weeks, if not months, and Luke's connection to the light side has seemingly been completely diminished, and his dark side powers have grown very strong. But Vader knows he is not yet ready to confront his master. There is one more test he must complete.
You must go find your friends.
A confused look appears on Luke's face. His friends? He thought he was supposed to be completely detached from those friends.
You must hunt them down and kill them.
Vader says. Luke, with no hesitation, nods.
Yes, my master.
We cut back to Tatooine, where now our heroes have made it out of Jabba's palace, still in a firefight against the Hutt Syndicate. But an uninvited third party has just arrived. A Star Destroyer has entered the atmosphere, and an Imperial shuttle is on its way down.
Yeah, I see it.
Han says.
Time to go.
The Millennium Falcon is parked out in the sand dunes. As they begin to sprint in that direction, the Imperial shuttle lands, and out comes Luke.
Look, you're here.
Leia screams. As she's running straight towards him, she senses something dark. She stops in her tracks.
Luke, what happened? Why are you in this ship?
What's going on, kid?
Luke ignites a red lightsaber as Han pulls out his blaster and begins to fire. Luke lifts his hand as Han's blaster stops. He gets lifted into the air as he's being choked. Lando grabs Leia as Chewie screams and they run towards the Millennium Falcon. They just got Han back. Leia does not want to leave him now. As Luke forces Han's body towards him, he impales him with his red lightsaber. Leia screams, realizing that both the men she once loved are gone. The rebels now turn around and focus their fire on Luke. The Hutts are no longer a priority. The Dark Lord that stands in front of them is. Han Solo, one of the greatest heroes of the rebellion, is now dead, killed by Luke Skywalker's own hand. The darkness has fully consumed him now. And yet, in this moment, instead of going after Leia, Lando, and Chewbacca, he allows them to leave. His reasons remain a mystery. Perhaps a little light still lingers inside of him. Or perhaps they serve a greater purpose in his plan. Luke gets back on board the shuttle and goes back to his master. His training is now complete, and it's time now to take down the Emperor. As he gets back on board the Star Destroyer, it blasts off into hyperspace, with the destination of the second Death Star. Emperor Palpatine sits on his throne, gazing into space. Luke and Vader now stand before the Emperor, their true intentions hidden beneath the veil of obedience. But the time has come for their betrayal.
The time of your rule is over, my master.
Vader ignites his lightsaber, and Luke follows suit. Palpatine stands up.
You think you can challenge me?
As he begins to laugh, he uses Force Lightning on the father and son. Luke and Vader fighting side by side against the Emperor's overwhelming power. Yet for the first time, the father and son duo are united against a common enemy, driven by the desire to rule the galaxy themselves without Palpatine's input. The battle between Vader, Luke, and Palpatine rages on, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. But even as they fight, a greater question looms. Can Luke now trust his father, or will the dark side betray him in the end? If Vader is so easily able to turn on his master, what's going to stop him from turning on Luke? The answers to these questions remain unknown as the struggle for control over the galaxy reaches its peak. Palpatine gets the upper hand on Vader, Force pushing him to the side, as he uses both hands in unlimited power on Luke Skywalker. Luke screaming in agonizing pain as Palpatine's laugh grows louder. Vader, seeing what's happening, gets up from the ground. But Palpatine, fueled by his own ego, doesn't sense his apprentice coming behind him, as a red blade goes through his chest. Palpatine's laugh stops in an instant. As Vader turns off his saber, he lifts his master above his head and throws him into the reactor to his demise. Vader walks over and takes his seat where his former master once sat. As Luke struggles to get up, he limps over to him and kneels in front of him. This father and son have succeeded, and now they rule the galaxy. The two of them together, powerful enough to take down pretty much anyone. But will the glimmer of light left in Luke Skywalker be enough for his sister to bring him back? And will the rebellion stand any chance against the Empire, now that the main hero from the original storyline, Luke Skywalker, is a Sith Lord? We cut to the swamp planet of Dagobah as the Millennium Falcon is landing. Yoda and a Force ghost of Obi-Wan sit patiently waiting as their next apprentice arrives. A new hope in this dark galaxy. As Yoda said before,
There is another.
and Leia Organa will begin her training.